Okay, so this is for biology students to finish taking those chapter 10 notes that we started the day before. We've already filled out this page together. We left off reading on this page together. So make sure you have a highlighter, something to highlight as you read. So, apoptosis. We left off talking about cancer cells and how cancer essentially results when the cell cycle isn't controlled and cells overgrow and multiply too rapidly. So, not every cell is destined to survive. Some cells go through a process called apoptosis or programmed cell death. I want you to highlight that. Some cells go through a process called apoptosis or programmed cell death. Cells going through apoptosis actually shrink and shrivel in a controlled process. All animal cells appear to have a death program that can be activated. One example of apoptosis occurs during the development of the human hand and foot. When the hands and feet begin to develop, cells occupy the spaces between the fingers and toes. Normally, this tissue undergoes apoptosis with the cells shriveling and dying at appropriate time, so that the webbing is not present in the mature organism. An example of apoptosis in plants is the localized death of cells that results in leaves falling from trees during autumn. Apoptosis also occurs in cells that are damaged beyond repair, including cells with DNA damage that could lead to cancer. So highlight that. Apoptosis also occurs in cells that are damaged beyond repair, including cells with DNA damage that could lead to cancer. Apoptosis can help protect organisms from developing cancerous growths. So yesterday we talked about these things called cyclins that control the timing of the cell cycle and the quality of it. Apoptosis is also there to get rid of cells that might be damaged. All right, next let's talk about stem cells. So, stem cells. The majority of cells in a multicellular organism are designed for a specialized function. Some cells might be part of your skin, and other cells might be part of your heart. In 1998, scientists discovered a way to isolate a unique type of cell in humans called the stem cell. Highlight: stem cells are unspecialized cells that can develop into specialized cells under the right conditions. You can see it, I already have it highlighted. As illustrated in figure 13, which is below here, stem cells can remain in an organism for many years while undergoing cell division. There are two basic types of stem cells, and highlight the sentence: embryonic stem cells and adult stem cells. And then, after you highlight that, go down to this figure, and we can see here are stem cells. I want you to write unspecialized next to them. And next to these cells down here, we see a muscle cell, a blood cell, a nerve size. Write down specialized. My handwriting isn't as neat as yours, I'm sure. So here's an example. Stem cells are unspecialized, and these cells are specialized. They have a specific function, a specific purpose. And you can see that their shapes are different. It's because their purpose is different. Back to our reading. Embryonic stem cells. After a sperm fertilizes an egg, the resulting mass of cells divides repeatedly until there are about 100 to 150 cells. That's called a blastocyst. We'll show you that in a little bit. And then I want you to highlight this. These cells have not become specialized and are called embryonic stem cells. If separated, each of these cells has a capacity of developing into a wide variety of specialized cells. If the embryo continues to divide, the cells specialize into various tissues, organs, and organ systems. Embryonic stem cell research is controversial because of ethical concerns about the source of cells. Highlight that. So the way embryonic stem cell research is controversial because of ethical concerns about the source of the cells. Embryonic stem cells are from an embryo. So let's go back this page in your notes. So at conception, the first cell that's formed is called a zygote. So write conception. When a sperm goes into an egg cell. That can then turn into over 100 trillion cells in the human, in an adult. Isn't that cool? That's an adult, so write that down, 100 trillion. Stem cells are unspecialized cells. They have the potential to develop into any cell type. Also, on the same page, you see this word differentiation. This is the process by which cells, specifically stem cells here, right, stem cells, become specialized. And I have some examples sketched out for you. So down here, you see this word embryo. Write down 2 to 8 weeks. After conception, an embryo stage is right after that. And it's about 2 to 8 weeks. It's in the embryo stage, and that's where embryonic stem cells are derived. Go back up here. A zygote will become a blastocyst. This is that 100 to 150 cell stage. And those are where stem cells are taken from. And then there's also stem cells in the embryo. And then up here I have an example of in your cells how they can become specific. Here's blood stem cell. Okay, so a stem cell has decided it's going to be a blood cell someday. But what type of blood cell? It could take this pathway to become a mature red blood cell, or it could take this pathway to become a platelet, which helps clot blood, which I didn't show. A blood cell could also decide to become a white blood cell. So just like you as teenagers in high school, you are unspecialized in my opinion. You haven't decided what you will be someday. But all of you will take different pathways to become specialized or become differentiated, have a specific purpose, function, job per se in your life. Go back to this page. We read about embryonic stem cells. Let's read about the other type of stem cell called an adult stem cell. Highlight the second type of stem cell. Adult stem cells is found in various tissues in the body and might be useful to maintain and repair the same kind of tissue in which they are found. The term adult stem cells might be somewhat misleading because even a newborn has adult stem cells. Like embryonic stem cells, certain kinds of adult stem cells also might be able to develop into different kinds of cells, providing new treatments for many diseases and conditions. In 1999, researchers at Harvard Medical School used nervous system cells to restore lost brain tissue in mice. In 2008, researchers used adult stem cells along with an enzyme called pKa to create new bone tissue for repair in mice. Highlight this last sentence. Research with adult stem cells, like that shown in figure 14 up here, is much less controversial because adult stem cells can be obtained with the consent of the donors. Right example, bone marrow donation. So, stem cell is an unspecialized cell. As you can see here, unspecialized can become specialized or differentiated. There's two types that we get them from, embryos or adult stem cells. Lastly, for the notes, I do want you to read this last page on your own to see what kind of is being done in research, some current research with stem cells. And this whole packet here is your chapter 10.3, 10.4 notes. And you'll be responsible for knowing this information.